Typically, it is the West that often talks about the dangers of nuclear conflict, especially in South Asia and more specifically between India and Pakistan. We heard some of that chatter during Operation Sindoor. But now eyebrows are being raised across the world after Donald Trump, who is clearly changing the way not just diplomacy is conducted, but also the way the world is organized and assembled. Eyebrows are being raised after Donald Trump has instructed the Pentagon to resume nuclear testing. It is not yet clear whether Trump means nuclear devices or does he mean testing systems. It's not clear at all. But the Trump administration is talking about catching up with Russia and China. This is also a week when Putin made a big show of testing a nuclear powered missile. Trump's order came moments before his big ticket meeting with Xi Jinping. Trump and China seem to have reached a truce of some kind, and as America invokes a G2 reference for the world, where does all of this leave India? We'll be talking to Ambassador Rakesh Sood in just a moment from now. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. On the program today, trying to make sense of Trump's world, a world that is changing with every policy decision and pronouncement from the American president. Moments before Donald Trump met with Xi Jinping and America and China reached some sort of truce and at least a rare earths deal for a period of 1 year, Trump also ordered for nuclear tests in America to be resumed. Now, nobody quite knows what this means. If you look at the headlines out of the West, they all talk about how this decision by Trump has only created fear, confusion, and uncertainty. Questions are about whether Trump means nuclear devices or does he mean testing systems. Putin did that earlier this week by testing a nuclear-powered missile. Also, Trump is now talking about a G2 world, America and China, after his meeting with Xi Jinping, a meeting that he gave a scorecard of 12 out of 10 to. Where does all of this leave India and India's security interests? Let me introduce our distinguished guest today. Ambassador Rakesh Sood is with us. He's a veteran diplomat, but he's also India's foremost expert on the area of disarmament and nuclear technology. Welcome, Ambassador. We don't yet know what Trump means. I think the world is waiting to find out what exactly he means. But it's quite clear, listening to officials from the Trump administration, that somewhere they believe that America was left behind, Russia and China. Maybe Putin's testing of this nuclear-powered missile triggered him. How do you read this decision from Trump, this pronouncement from Trump? What does it mean?
Well, during his first term, President Trump had actually said he'd given the orders that the Nevada test site should be kept ready to resume testing as and when required. And some funds had been allocated, so it was as if there was some expectation perhaps at that time, because if you remember during his first term, there was a lot of rhetoric being exchanged between President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un of North Korea. They were threatening they were showing whose mine is bigger than yours kind of thing, and so on. But then then he had 2 summits with him, and that kind of went under the carpet. This time, I think he has been encouraged also by the Russian test of the Buravestnik, which is a very unusual missile because it is the first. It's actually a cruise missile which flies at a very low altitude. Therefore, it cannot be detected by radars or early warning satellites. And secondly, it has almost an indefinite kind of a range because it is nuclear powered. And so it can remain aloft for 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, even more, 24 hours if need be, and then be used to strike. And nuclear propulsion in space is something which has been talked about, but was never tried before. And this is the first time. This puts a whole different complexion on nuclear deterrence, especially among the major powers, which so far have made extensive use of early warning satellites and radar systems to be able to track incoming missiles and have, use that to adopt policies like launch on warning
Mm-hmm.
or even preemption if they so desire.
Mm.
But then that is perhaps what has led to President Trump's announcement on social media saying that he has given orders for resumption of testing. But as you pointed out, there are some experts who have said, well, it's not very clear whether he
Mm.
is going to resume testing, explosive testing. Because, mind you, the US, like Russia and like China, have been undertaking what is called non explosive testing or zero
Mm-hmm.
yield testing.
Mm.
What they have refrained from is explosive testing. So people are speculating whether does he mean explosive testing or does he mean testing of existing systems, in which case they could test other aspects of systems but not necessarily an explosive test of the nuclear warhead.
And we don't know the answer to that, right? We actually don't know, does he mean nuclear devices or does he mean systems? Putin tested a system. We don't know what Trump means.
Well, Putin tested a system, but as I said, these are countries. I mean, like the United States has undertaken till it declared a moratorium in 1993 or 94, if I remember right.
Yeah, Bush years by
Um,
George Bush. I think Bush was president then, if I'm
yes,
not wrong.
yes. So
Yes.
probably
Yeah.
1992.
Yeah.
So it has carried out more than 1,000 tests.
Mm-hmm.
By 1992, it had carried out more than 1,000 tests, which means that it has a wealth of data. And obviously, it had tested all its designs. And by this time, there was a lot of development in computer science and data processing and things like that, so that the data that was accumulated could help design a new warhead without actually undertaking an explosive test. And that is how the term zero yield test was brought about in a definition. It was something
Yeah.
that India had objected to very strongly when this was brought in. But then,
Mm.
similarly, at that time, Russia and former Soviet Union, if you take both together, they had carried out more than 700 tests. China had carried out 47 tests by that time. And
Yeah.
so, but if you remember last year, Russia had actually ratified the CTBT, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. But last
Mm-hmm.
year, in an interesting move, President Putin announced that Russia was withdrawing its ratification, thereby putting it at par in terms of the CTBT status and its applicability to Russia, at par with the US, because the US signed the CTBT during the Clinton years, but has never been able to ratify it. There's too much domestic opposition to it from the hardliners. And that
Mm.
goes back to the Clinton years. So, as a result, now the CTBT is one of those funny treaties that was concluded and opened for signature in 1996. It was supposed to ban explosive testing.
Yeah.
It actually permitted zero yield testing and has never yet entered into force. So
Yeah.
it's